Hello gamers! Face it, breakfast is ruined. Sorry, wrong video. It's no secret that the N64 is definitely not one of my favorite consoles of all time. However, I do acknowledge that there are some great games on the system, just not nearly as many as the NES or Super Nintendo or PlayStation. PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4 probably rivals Dreamcast in my opinion, because, Dreamcast really isn't that great either. Get me. I'm gonna do my list a little bit different here because you know what happens every time when somebody does one of these lists. The top two spots always go to Zelda and Mario. My favorite N64 games of all time is definitely Super Mario 64, and just above that is Ocarina of Time. Doesn't really make for an exciting list if you know that that's going to be what they are at the top. It's kind of anticlimactic. I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do with this list is my top 5 N64 games besides Ocarina of Time and Mario 64. But first, a word from our sponsor. Looking for the perfect Christmas gift? Well, look no further than Ridge Wallet. Let's face it, most of us guys, we don't upgrade our wallets. We stick with the same one for a long time. Well, now I've upgraded. I love this thing. It's small, but it's tough, and it has RFID blocking, so people can't pickpocket you digitally, which I didn't even know that was a thing, but apparently it's a thing, and this blocks that. Plus, this thing hurts my butt cheeks all day when I'm sitting on it. This doesn't. It holds up to 12 cards, has room for cash, and has a lifetime warranty. There are over 30 colors and styles. I love this thing, but you don't even have to take my word for it. Listen to the over 30,000 5-star reviews. Now you can get 10% off of this right now, plus you get free shipping and free returns if you don't like it. All you gotta do is go to ridge.com/chodes. Yes, our code is chode, the chode code. It's pretty fitting, right? Check them out today.
Oh, it's Friday night. Don't know what I'm gonna do tonight. I could sit here and pick my nose while I watch a brand new video. Whoa. Top 5 Friday tonight.
Number 5 on my list goes to Rogue Leader. Now I know that at least I think there were several rogue type games, space fighter games in the Star Wars universe on PC and maybe on a few other consoles. I wasn't sure, but this was the first one that I ever played. And for me, this was the very first Star Wars game where it was nothing but vehicles. All of the other ones like Super Star Wars and all that on the Super Nintendo and the NES games, obviously you had to get out and do platforming and things like that, but this was just solely combat fighting based. And it was super, super cool. It was so well done in terms of how the mission structures were and how fun it was to go and do some of these objectives. And, you got to see different things in the Star Wars universe that was never in the movies. Different planets, different vehicles and things like that. Some that were, I'm pretty sure, were hinted at or even talked about in the expanded universe. Or maybe even just mentioned in passing in the movies. But here you actually get to see them in their full 64 glory, but so super cool. I love the GameCube ones a little bit better, but this one definitely belongs in my top 5. So number 4 on the list is actually Super Mario Kart. Me and Chris would play this game, and so after we had all kind of grown up, I guess you could say, and would come back and visit much more occasionally than every Friday night. Like Thanksgivings and Christmas and holidays and stuff. This would always be here so I'm not sure if Chris had brought it every time he came over or if my grandmother had it, but regardless, we played this constantly. Now we did own the Super Nintendo version, or I owned the Super Nintendo version, but no, this one was there's just heads and shoulders above that, and we just had so much fun playing this thing. And I especially loved the combat stuff. I'm not a big racing fan. I never have been. I do make an occasional run through a Mario Kart game because I do love how that racing is done in these games. I'm still not the biggest fan, but I love it more than your standard racing game. But the combat, the 1 versus 1 combat on these where you try to blow up each other's balloons, I've always found that extremely fun. And I think that that's pretty much all we did in this game. And I was just hours and hours of playing that mode in this particular game. So I got to put it at number 4. Number 3 on the list is the second game I ever bought for the system, and I'm pretty sure the only other game. I think I only actually owned 2 games for the 64, and this was one of them. Yes, I didn't even own the Mario and the Zelda. It was just a constant rental. Now, this was the second game that I ever owned, and that was Star Fox 64. I loved the Star Fox game on the Super Nintendo, so it was kind of a no-brainer when this first came out. I was like, I gotta have this. And this one is obviously much, much better in terms of getting the 3D look of space combat, not to crap all over the Super Nintendo one, of course, because they could only do so much, but what they were able to get out of that game and that system and the hardware was just really phenomenal. So, no, it is very, very good, but this one just takes it absolutely, and of course, to the next level, because it's on a next generation hardware. The level that I would just spend I would play it again and again and again was the level where the big battleship comes down and you have to do this dogfight underneath it. It's a huge ship and there's just swarms and swarms of enemies. Obviously, this was inspired by Independence Day. There's no way around it. It absolutely was. But the Independence Day, I loved, it's as cheesy and stupid as it is. I really liked the movie, so I felt like I was actually playing the game on Star Fox 64, because we never really got any decent games of Independence Day for real. So this was, as far as I was concerned, was the closest thing we would get. And I really did feel like I was playing Independence Day. But just besides that, just all the levels, I mean, the fact that you can do tank, you're a tank some of the times, you do different vehicles, you're not just space battles. It really had a lot of different gameplay mechanics, which kept things somewhat fresh in it. Excellent game, one of the best, and I highly recommend it. Number 2 really kind of goes to a series of games, but if I had to pick one, I would say No Mercy. It's the N64 wrestling games. More specifically, NWO, WCW Revenge, No Mercy, WrestleMania 2000. Those were the 3 main ones that me, Jay, Tim, Rufus, Dodongo would just spend hours and hours and hours playing. Probably a good solid year and a half of when the new one came out, we had to get the new one, and it would boil and spill over into real life scenarios where we'd actually get real belts, break off into real actual factions in real life. You know, it got tense there sometimes, but they all kind of run together in my head just a bit, and I realized that each game brought something a little bit new to the table besides just the roster update, and in the terms of just being a different promotion altogether, as in going from WCW to WWF at the time. But the thing is, we weren't really too big on what the actual rosters were, because we never played any of the rosters, the actual characters in the game. So it didn't matter to us. It was all about the creative players. We would create our own wrestlers. We would create different ones for the heavyweights and the cruiserweights and the lightweights, and which are the same weights. But it was just an absolute blast. Hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours of my life wasted playing this when I could have been accomplishing something. So I blame these games for that. And these will, as far as I'm concerned, they will never get old. They'll always be fun. All right, so number 1 on the list goes to a little game called Shadows of the Empire. Now, I know this game has flaws. It's got some big time flaws. Some might even say it doesn't hold up very well. But I gotta give it some credit here, because I found it fun, so much fun at the time. I still do find it fun, even though it does have some shortcomings, especially in the controls and the shooting and the aiming and stuff. And that driving stuff, that when you're on the speeder bike stage, I hate that stage. However, this got me back into gaming, this game right here. Mid-90s rolled around, I was getting too old for games. I was late in high school. I was like, you know what, I just lost interest. I got interested in other things. The new 64 was coming out, and it was going into 3D, and I felt like I was one of the only people on the planet that didn't care about 3D. I didn't care that the new system was going to be 3D, and then everything was going to 3D. I liked 2D stuff. I guess I was a retro gamer even back then. I wasn't into it. I saw these news stories about Mario 64, and I was like, it looks okay, but I don't care about going out and getting it. And I didn't get it. I didn't get the new 64 when it came out. It wasn't until later on, I was working at Blockbuster, and they had Shadows of the Empire, and we set it up for display for demo use, and I started playing it, and I'm like, this is the Star Wars game I've been waiting for forever. I love the Super Star Wars games, don't get me wrong, but the Hoth battle left a lot to be desired because the Super Nintendo could only do so much. The Hoth battle in this, I was like, this is the Hoth battle I've been waiting for. This feels real to me, relatively speaking, of course. But I was hooked instantly, and so I literally just weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks of pay added up that I could save and stash away. I finally was able to buy an N64 and Shadows of the Empire. I was like, well, somebody's getting back into gaming, and then that's what I did. I got that game, and then I got the Star Fox when it came out. Obviously, I was renting stuff. Fell in love with Ocarina of Time and Mario 64 when I first played those games. So it was this game. It was this game that got me back into gaming altogether. And who knows? Maybe if this game had never been made, who knows? I might not even have gotten into gaming again ever, and I might not be making this video at all. So maybe I owe it a little something here, even though it's got its flaws. Anyway, so yeah, that's my brief kind of semi-history with the N64. Again, it's not the best system, obviously. It's got its drawbacks, but it does have some good stuff on it. You just got to sift through a lot of the garbage. But anyway, thank you for watching, and let me know down below what your favorite N64 games are of all time.